Live. It's our first live today. So first of all, thank you everyone who has joined us. I'm going to give you a bit of background here in terms of the reason why we're doing this LinkedIn Live. So let's dive into it. Today's LinkedIn Live is specifically for product leaders. We've crafted this narrative for anyone who is in the industry as a chief product officer or a vice president of product. And we're going to be covering some really hot topics relevant to the search world today, which is we're going to begin with a reality check on the market. And then we're going to talk about who are you as a chief product officer? Who are you in the big picture of the industry? And that's going to be really foundational to everything else that we're going to talk about, which is some strategies, mindset, and tactics around how to find your next opportunity. We're also going to talk about the role of LinkedIn in your job search, as well as the role of a resume. We're going to end with some perspectives on your journey into your next opportunity. And then we're going to field some questions. And I'm really excited to hear what everyone has to think about this session today so that we can optimize and iterate on it for future events that we do for chief product officers and vice presidents of product. But let me first take a minute to introduce our firm. My name is Heidi. I work for a search firm called Martin Bassett Associates. And our first product search was in 2006. And if you think back to 2006, what was happening then? Well, product was in its infancy as a craft, and people used to joke around, ha, 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 I do this job called product management. No one really understands it, but that's what I do. Fast forward to 2016, we launched our product practice in response to the needs of the market, of tech companies who had often put a stake in the ground to say, we see product management as our channel into growth and delivering experiences that customers are going to want to buy and use. And so we launched our practice in response to that. Most of our clients are the types of companies you're going to want to work for, and those are startups and scale-ups. Smaller percentage of our clients are big tech, publicly traded businesses. And we work mainly in B2B SaaS. So most of our clients are B2B SaaS vendors. A smaller proportion are delivering consumer experiences through mobile apps, web experiences, and sometimes even really cool connected devices and wearables. And we have experience building product teams across all product categories. We've listed a few of them here for you: ed tech, health tech, fintech, prop tech, all the techs, all the product categories, which gives us a unique perspective today as we think about who you are, a chief product officer or a vice president of product, and how you might tackle this job market if you are searching for your next opportunity. Because a lot of the things that we're going to talk about today run across all different categories of product leaders, both from startups, scale-ups, and to all of these different product businesses. I am Heidi Ram. I lead our firm's product practice. And that means that I spend my day, every day, all day, recruiting chief product officers and vice presidents of product. I'm talking with you in the market every day, as well as the leaders who are hiring you. Chief executive officers, founders, and sometimes in larger enterprises, the hiring stakeholder might be maybe a line of business leader. But for the most part, we're working with founders and CEOs who are looking for their next chief product officer or vice president of product. We have a whole product practice of recruiters who work on individual contributor roles. And my role in the firm is also just to help move the needle forward in any way that I can, delivering value to the community who is trying to figure out how might we apply product principles to grow our business. So the state of the market and the reason why we're doing this LinkedIn Live is because never before have I had so many chief product officers and VPs approach me saying, Heidi, I don't know what's going on. What's happening in the market? I've never had to look for a job. I'm applying to postings and nothing's happening. Do I really have to write a resume? I mean, people used to knock on my door for opportunities all the time. Help me understand how to approach this market. So that's why we're doing this today. So even though we're not going to be able to solve all of the problems when it comes to how to help you find an opportunity, what we're hoping to do today is add some encouragement, give you some perspective, and perhaps give you a couple of things to think about that you may not be doing yet. And if it adds any value into your journey, I'm all for that. And I want to hear from you afterwards. What really resonated with you? What was it that you can apply to your job search? and whether this was of any value to you, because we are here to deliver value to you, that Chief Product Officer, that VP of Product. All right. So if you are having a hard time getting a job, well, no surprise. And there's a few reasons for that. The largest of which, it is still an employer's market. So let's talk about what your competition looks like today, although I'm sure you already know this, but it's a really good reminder that, first of all, the end of 2022 and then what flowed into 2023 was much publicized downsizings. So part of your competition into the role that you want is the community who were downsized, who are still struggling in some cases, some people, looking for an opportunity 4 months, 6 months, 8 months into it. Adding to the market, you are also competing against candidates who are employed, but they're active. They are actively looking because perhaps they took an opportunity that they had to. However, it's not the ideal scenario, so they are openly in the market looking to make their next move. Adding another layer to your competition in the market are those candidates who are employed, but they are passive. These are individuals, perhaps like you were not too long ago, where you were hired to achieve an outcome, you achieved it, and now you're looking to solve your next problem. You're looking for your next adventure. Perhaps your vesting schedules have all wrapped up, and now you're just looking for another reason to join another startup, and you want to build another business working with another first-time founder. Then what's really interesting in this marketplace is in these types of economies, you've got people who are struggling to find opportunities, who hang a shingle on the door saying, hey, I'm going to give my best try at becoming fractional or a consultant or a product coach. That's great. But there's those people who have been doing that job who are now entering the full-time permanent market, looking for a permanent full-time opportunity back in a company leading a product organization, because perhaps they're experiencing challenges trying to get business as a fractional consultant, and they want permanent full-time because they're in a lower risk situation currently in their life. And then on top of everything else, that precious person who perhaps worked in your organization 1, 2, or 3 levels below you, dear CPO, well, they want your job. And so they've got a few years of experience, they've had some success, and now they're thinking it's time to level up and get to that next level. And so they're in there as well, applying to opportunities that you might also be interested in. So that all of that adds for a very interesting market and a very challenging employer's market. So what do you do? Well, that's what we're going to start to talk about. But before we get into that, I want to take a minute to remind you of a few things. And the first reminder is really the big picture. It is this type of an employment market where that saying is so relevant. It's a full-time job to get a job. And so this is going to become your full-time job. The journey to the next opportunity. You are going to work at this every day, and you're going to approach every new day with hope and with the belief that your actions are going to create a funnel that you're going to be engaged in, meeting with people, engaging with real live humans, not ATS systems, not websites, but with real live humans who have the power to make a hiring decision. All right. And you're going to iterate and optimize based on the data that you gather from those experiences. In essence, you're going to do what you do for a living. All right. But take heart. You will work again. You are employable. You deliver value to companies, and you have done that more than once, dear CPO Vice President of Product. So take heart. It is only a matter of time. You will be working again. One of the things to think about in the big picture is that everyone has a dream. Everyone has a dream of the ideal opportunity that they want next. It might be around a specific stage or scale of company. It might be around a particular product category. It might be around certain groups or a certain leader who you really aspire to work for. All right. And in these types of markets, while we definitely want to be making moves and taking steps to align in those areas that we have tremendous interest in, we also need to have an open mind, Because if there's one thing that is true about product leaders, is that you are insatiably curious and you love to solve new things, new problems, and learn about new industries or categories that you may not have previous experience in. So while you are moving towards a North Star, you want to be open. And the other piece that I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about because it goes down really personal journeys, but everyone has a situation in their personal life that is dramatically impacted when someone is not working. And so there may come a point where you have to make a decision to say yes to an opportunity that might really not be the ideal or even close to the ideal. And only you can make those tough decisions. And if that's a place that you are in where you're going to make a tough decision to take a job that you really wouldn't probably take, guess what? Your career is a long road. And there's going to be a lot of opportunities for you to make additional changes. Wherever you go next, it's not forever. You're going to make additional moves. And when the market continues what it is doing, which is improving, the market every month is getting better, you're going to have additional options perhaps presented to you that you don't have presented today, okay? But one of the things to be thinking about when you're evaluating opportunities are these two big questions. Is this a group of people I can get behind and want to work with? Because people are always going to be at the center of everything, all right? And if you look across that Zoom room or across that table into the eye of a founder or a CEO, and you can get behind the problem set that they're solving for, that's huge. And that should be the first tick mark and yes to what you're evaluating. And then the second thing is that a problem I actually want to work on? Is that a job I want to do? Because if the answer to the question about people is a no, and the job that they're looking for someone to do is a no, then you as the leader, the chief product officer and the vice president of product, really need to ask yourself, how much time am I going to invest in this interview cycle, search cycle, if in my heart I know that it is not for me, and I'm not going to sign an offer no matter what it is, because I don't want to work with those people and I don't want to do that job. Step out of a process and let someone else, perhaps someone in the Zoom room or in the community who's also in a job search process, let that role go to someone who really wants to do that and who would love to work with that community of people. And you CPO, you VP product, you keep investing your time in those places that are likely to convert to an offer that you will accept. The other thing to be thinking about when we think about opportunities is the value of that opportunity to who you are as a product leader. And what is that worth to you? So the fascinating thing about product leaders is that there is a tremendous amount of in and out from building, scaling, and managing. And it's all accepted in the world of product. So what do I mean by this? So if we think about someone who's a chief product officer or a VP of product at a very successful big tech company, at some point, many of those leaders start to think about, wow, I really want to build again. I want to be a part of the early stage of something. I want to put my stamp on building an organization and a business, something that is going to become bigger than I am. That will be a legacy, or that will really reimagine something in the industry that no one's ever done before. This is very normal. Just like organizationally, people who have built something from a startup to a scale up to something very successful want that crack at working at something even larger and taking that next step forward. So in all of these things, money, and we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about money today, but I do want to touch on it here, that in all of these things, compensation is going to change and look very different depending upon the business that you are saying yes to. And so while money will not always be equivalent, the question that you always want to be asking is, what is this experience worth to who I am as a product leader and the things that are important to me at this stage of my career and at this stage of my life? And that's all I'm going to say about money. If you want to talk more about this directly, shoot me an email and I'm happy to jump on a conversation with you and talk about money from the context that you're coming from. What everybody really wants at your level, CPO, VP product, is to deliver value. And that is ultimately what you want to be looking at through every set of lenses as you're looking at opportunities. How can I deliver value to this business? How can I deliver value to those customers or those users of those products? How can I deliver value to the investors and that founder or that CEO? How can I deliver value? Because if the reason why you say yes to an opportunity, even if it's not the ideal, is because you knew that you could get it done and you knew that you could deliver value, then when you tell this story the next time you're in the market, people will appreciate that you took a value-based approach in your job search, and they'll understand why you said yes to an opportunity, even if the market and everyone else might otherwise say, why would they have ever taken that job? It's because you knew you could deliver value. And that's always going to be why someone hires a CPO or a vice president of product. And my friends, this is a long game. This is a long game. Your career is a long game. You don't have to worry and agonize over one move in one period of time, in one season of your life, because you're going to move forward from this period of your life and have many other seasons. And you're going to look back. Future you is going to look back on this day today, and you're going to remember this Zoom actually, and you're going to think, wow, I was in that place, but that's not where I am anymore. And you're going to share your experiences with that next generation coming up behind you. Okay. All right. Hey, let's talk about who you are. This is foundational to everything that we're going to start to talk about next when it comes to resumes and your job search and your narrative when you're engaging with the market to find an opportunity. Now, some of these might sound like exaggerations depending on how senior you are or not, but I'm just going to own these for you, even if you don't feel that this is who you embody. But you as a chief product officer or a VP product, you're the chief problem solver. Typically, when a founder CEO hires someone at your level, it's for one of two reasons. Number one, we got a big problem here that we need solving, and we think you're the one. Maybe the product doesn't work. Customers are churning. The competition's killing you. You're not in that magic quadrant or in G2 something that everybody is suddenly going, oh my gosh, look who's in that category. All right. There might be things like, well, you know what they are. So number one, you're hired to solve a problem. Number two, you're hired to realize an opportunity. And you've got to be problem solving to realize opportunities and take something that doesn't exist and make it something that is out there that everyone's going to love and use and never churn out of. So you are the chief problem solver. You are the master communicator. I was at a fabulous product event earlier this week, and one of the speakers said it best. They were a product leader, and they said, your role as a product leader is to bring clarity into everything that you do. So think about that as you think about your resume and your job search. Are you bringing clarity to everything that you do? Is your resume clear and concise? Is there a narrative? Is there a journey that someone can easily follow in a frictionless way that will get them to the outcome that you want them to, which is booking a meeting with you? You are the reason, my friend, that a business will succeed or fail. And while that might sound really dramatic, and of course, there's many other cross-functional leaders, yes, of course, in that business. Let's face it. If that product doesn't work, do you think the VP of sales is getting the axe? I don't think so. Of course, I'm being a bit of a drama queen here, but I want you to think about the fact that you're a big deal to any company who hires you. And that's why the narrative that we're going to talk about in a minute is foundational. You are the person who unlocks the value that a customer is going to be willing to pay for. And if you're enterprise SaaS B2B, wow, that's millions, tens of millions. You are the architect of a business and their road to revenue. Are they going to make money? Well, you've got to figure it out, don't you? You are going to be the reason that a company becomes a category leader or not. You are the one who is chosen. Let's rest on that word for a moment. Think about the journey that a CEO or a founder has to hiring you. They will have dreamed about it, thought about it, watched all the videos and read the Marty Kagan books. They will have gone to the trade shows. They will have in their vision the person who they want running their product organization. They will fight for the money to pay you what you're worth. They are going to optimize that search process to skip steps when they meet the person. Oh my goodness, this could be the one. They're going to be all in because you will be the one who is chosen. Several were interviewed. In some cases, too many were interviewed, but one person is going to get chosen, and that person is going to be you. And you will be the one chosen to usher in a transformation or to disrupt an industry that doesn't even realize the disruption is coming. Think about it. Or you might be tapped, chosen to realize a dream. Maybe that's a first-time founder. Maybe they have an immigrant story. Maybe they have dreamed about this their entire life, and you're going to be the one to take that to market. That's who you are. You are a partner to the CEO. You're not about user stories. You're a partner to the CEO. You are going to be one of the most highly paid executives in the company that you work for, if not the most highly paid executive. Think about it. Does your resume look like it? Next, you are responsible for creating a business that becomes wealth building. That investor is going to want ROI. That's right. You're a big part of that. All right. How to find a job. Let's talk about it. There's 5 obvious paths. We're going to really dial in on 3 of these, but let's talk about the first one. First of all, if you are looking for a job, you're going to engage the people who know you. The people for whom you are a wow. You were fabulous. That's the community. So you want to let the people who you have ever, worked for, other founders, other CEOs, other leaders, if your product is very ecosystem focused, all right, you're reaching out to the people who would know you or know of you. Think about other investors. This is a broader community of people who know you, for whom they will take your call. They will have a coffee chat, even though I hate that term, coffee chat. Who has coffee chats these days, right? They're all, really, a coffee chat is an interview. Okay. So bottom line, you're going to reach out to the community who will take a call from you. That's a no-brainer. Next, you're going to apply to posts. I know. Yes. You're going to look at that post and you're going to say, wow, why would I do that? There's already 500 applicants. There's already 300 applicants. My friend, these platforms are so sophisticated that people apply without even having read it. People apply who aren't you, who aren't taking a curated approach. They apply saying, you know what, I've never done that job. I could never do that job, but boy, would I ever love to. So here's my resume. Okay. So if you, the product leader, when you see a posting and you've actually looked at it, because you're all about making, key decisions, you're going to look at it and say, I've actually solved for that. I've done for that. I understand the space. Yes, 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 yes. You are applying for that role because you can and you should. Okay. And you're not going to worry about how many applicants also applied. That's all I'm going to say about that for now, because there will be other legs into this as we move on. But I want to dial into 3 things: engaging employers, recruiters, and the broader picture, which is content and community engagement. Okay. So really your focus, CPO, Vice President of Product, is engaging with employers. This is going to be your everything. So let's talk about that. First of all, you are going to think about, for whom are you the obvious hire? I want you to think about those product categories that you already have experience in, those industry-specific problems. If you're a B2B SaaS company that has a sales-led motion, who are those? If we think about the enterprise customers who have used your type of product before, and you understand that buyer persona, that customer persona, what else are they buying? What are those other products that they're using to run their business? You're thinking strategically about where you could be the obvious hire. And you're making good old-fashioned lists, okay? Step 2 is identifying the senior most hiring stakeholder who's going to hire for your function. Probably a CEO, a founder, depending on the business, could be a CTO, co-founder, COO, could be any number of people, but at its core, it's a CEO founder, because we're talking today to CPOs and vice presidents of product. And you're going to apply the methods that are available publicly online to identify business email addresses. Yes, you could try the LinkedIn thing where you connect on LinkedIn and then you get their email. But there's a lot of tools out there that you are going to use to capture business email. And I'm going to talk about why business email in just a minute. Okay. And then when you do your reach out, you are reaching out to these stakeholders. We want to be mindful of three things: what they actually care about, because they're not lying awake at night worrying about you getting a job. And they're not necessarily interested in coffee meetings and coffee chats and all the other things. They care about their problem and whether you can solve it. They care about the opportunity that their business is being presented with and whether you can realize that opportunity for them. And they care about their time. You are going to curate your narrative. Less is more. You don't have to tell them everything when you reach out. You're going to curate that, and you are going to do this through business email. All right, this is foundational. Now, I'm going to give you an example. Okay, I'm going to give you a real world example. I took a look at a number of recent emails that I've gotten. So we're going to pretend that I'm a CEO of a company hiring a CPO or a VP of product, and I'm going to show you a real live email that I often get from people like you who are open to an opportunity. Okay. And I'm going to call that person Average Annie. This is what Average Annie says in their email or LinkedIn message. Hi, Heidi. I hope you're doing great. I always am. Please find attached my resume for your consideration. I'm a VP product with 12 years of experience in B2B SaaS. I have a computer science degree from this and that school, and I've got an MBA from this and that school. I've led large cross-functional teams, yeah, well, you and everyone, and am passionate. There's always a word of passion about solving complex problems. I have experience in project management, leading large engineering teams, what? And enterprise, blah, blah, blah. Well, I've tuned out, okay? That's kind of a typical glimpse into how Average Annie reaches out to someone who might be a hiring stakeholder, or in my case, an influencer working with CEOs, recruiting CPOs. And if you're smiling or thinking, oh my gosh, that's what mine looks like, or something like it, I also list my passions, and I also list my engineering experience, and I trump mentioning my university graduation 25 years ago over what I've actually done. If that's you, that's okay, because that's why you're here today. We're going to help you through this, because now I'm going to show you a reimagining of who you really are. Remember, we just talked about who you are in the market. This is how who you are in the market is going to reach out. And of course, there's a bit of exaggeration here, but let's go for it. Good morning, CEO. Congratulations on delivering such value to JP Morgan Chase that they agreed to be featured as a case study. I can only imagine that your goal right now is to leverage that into the larger banking industry. And guess what? I've solved for that. I was the CPO who scaled XYZ company from 4 beta customers to 30 paying customers, and revenues grew from 8 million to 50 million ARR over 5 years. I took that team of, so-called PMs. They were 2 business analysts, and I built a 30-person product organization, and this is who they included. But most importantly, CEO, we pivoted our business from being largely a custom feature dev shop to a true product-led business, a SaaS company that delivers value to all customers. Attached is my resume. Here's my LinkedIn profile, my phone number, my Calendly link. And when you're ready to make a strategic product hire like me, I'll be ready to take your call. Are you tracking with me? CPO, VP product, are you listening to me? Think about how we are now speaking to the heart of a CEO or a founder and what they care about when they're looking for someone like you. All right. Now, of course, I don't want to call this a unicorn person, but I'm exaggerating to bring home the point. Outcomes are key. Curating a narrative is key. All right. And aligning to the heart of what someone might want to need is critical. Why is this important? Because as you're engaging with these kinds of messages to founders and CEOs who don't have a posting, by the way. This is not a leader who has a job posting. This is someone who probably doesn't, because you are looking for a leader who is opportunistic. Think about the journey that a CEO or founder has when they suddenly one day realize we're going to do it. We downsized our CPO in January. We're now ready to pull the trigger and hire a chief product officer or a VP now. There is a gap in time before that news hits the go-to-market team. Okay. So they're thinking about it. They're getting the money, they're getting the budget, the board is on board. The leadership of who's going to meet that person, they've chimed in with what they're going to value. You figure out things, you might engage a firm like us. You're going to figure out how you go to market with that. That is kind of that gray, mushy area where they're going to hire someone. So if you are the obvious path to that hire and you end up in their inbox, that's the hidden job market. And that's what you are looking for. And also, guess what? That's what I'm looking for. In essence, in this market right now, you and I are competing. I want to find that CEO founder in that gray matter space, in that no man's land before it's a public search. And I want them to engage our firm so that I can then find that strategic hire and really provide a curated experience of putting 3 to 4 to 5 people in front of them, all of whom could do that job. And the search is done before anyone knows anything. Okay. But if they're not, if I'm not finding them, maybe you are, and maybe you're the one who gets hired. Okay, so that's the mission. You're not worried about whether they're hiring anyone. You are looking for an opportunistic leader, because maybe the person who's in the seat right now running product is the Band-Aid. This is the person who, after they let go the CPO in January, they gave it to the person saying, look, let's give them a shot. If they can do it as a head of product, great. But now that CEO realizes, hey, no, it didn't work out. We need a real person. So that's the situation that you are looking for, my friend. Now let's talk about recruiters. And I'm going to, this is a challenging topic to talk about because, of course, I'm a recruiter in the industry. So on behalf of the industry and all of those people who you reached out to try to have a meaningful conversation about your career and what you want to do and what you're hoping to do, and for all of those recruiters who didn't reply to you or respond, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's a challenging industry, and here's why. Most recruiters don't specialize. Most recruiters don't, which is why our firm stands out. It's amazing how many founders and CEOs will work with, and they'll say, what, you specialize in product? I can't even believe it. That's often why we get engaged, is because we specialize in product. Most don't. Most recruiters are generalists. The other challenge is that there's a low barrier to entry into search. So where I'm a career recruiter, having spent 25 years in this business, most aren't. So those recruiters, who came into the business when it was the boom time, they might be starting careers in real estate right now. I don't know what's happening, but bottom line, it's a bit of a crazy industry. And I'm sorry for the way that you experienced the search business that wasn't aligned to your hopes and dreams. And that's why I'm here, is to introduce myself and our firm to you, because we are in the business of working with leaders who hire you and working with people just like you to make strategic hires on their team. So that's all I'm going to say about the recruitment industry. Next. This part of the journey into your next role should not be underestimated, and that is community engagement. What do I mean by that? So I wanted to talk for a moment about LinkedIn, not from what I'm going to talk about next, but more about the engagement in LinkedIn, because your goal when you're in a job search is to have more people meeting you, thinking about you, learning about you, taking a closer look at you, and possibly unlocking an opportunity for you, or doors being open because someone said, oh my gosh, look at where they worked, look at what they did, and they're actually open to opportunities. So yes, should you enable your open to opportunity button tag? Yes, you should. Tell someone, because a recruiter is wired to take a closer look if you're open to opportunities. We're just wired that way. Wow, they're open? Interesting. Because that's a faster placement than having to convince someone who's worked 10 years in one company, hey, baby, it's time to make a move. You've been there too long. Okay, that's a little glimpse into how a recruiter thinks. So you want to be increasing your circle, engaging with content that the product community puts out there. Because don't forget that your likes and your comments and your engagement increase the eyeballs on your persona. And if your profile on LinkedIn is top secret, like nobody sees what I comment on, nobody sees anything, you want to go in and look at your privacy settings, because maybe that's not such a good idea. If you're looking for a job search and you're wondering, how do I do that in a modern way in today's market? You need to not be quite so stealthy, okay? Engaging in content, creating content, offering up content that is valuable to the community. This is never going to hurt you, also help you, always help you. But I want to also speak to something that's really interesting right now, because we are, of course, in a time of influencers and content creators at scale. And sometimes I meet product managers and product leaders at all different levels who say, you know what, I think I really need to start building my brand. I need to start, maybe I need to launch a podcast. Maybe I need to self-publish a book. Maybe I need to do this and that. And while that might be true for a small community of you, that you're at that point where, yes, you should be doing that. For most people, it's not really going to help you get a job in product, okay? That's kind of a long game as you're doing the things that you were doing. And I'm going to point out Shreyesh Doshi right now, who I think has risen to become such a source of value to product leaders. And he talks about branding, product managers who feel that they need to be branding. And if you email me, I'll send you the link to his YouTube video where he talks specifically about this. And he says, listen, don't think that branding yourself is a substitute for actual competency in doing the work. You've got to be a competent product leader first. You've got to be a competent product manager first, because he cites, interviewing candidates who, are all bougie about their brand. And then he interviews them and everything just falls through. It's paper thin. They actually have no outcomes or tangible real world experiences to draw from. It's all fluff. So be very, very careful and don't believe the lie that you now need to become a Marty Kagan or you're a product failure. Okay, it's just not true. The other thing I want to point out is don't underestimate product communities or meetups, not necessarily to find a role, but for the encouragement that you might need in this journey and to kind of press flesh, kiss babies, shake hands with people who have walked this road with you or are on that road with you, how you can encourage each other, or that you can learn about something new that is happening in the marketplace that you hadn't even thought of. And then that unlocks something and a new channel that could lead to something. Okay, really, really important. I want to talk about the role of LinkedIn specifically in your job search. This is really critical because I think a lot of people underestimate LinkedIn and the user persona who is using it to find someone like you. That's sort of the perspective that I'm going to talk about. LinkedIn is a tool. It's a marketing tool that you're going to use to drive top of funnel engagement into your inbox. Okay, that someone might want to talk with you. You are interested, dear candidate, in human engagement. You got to move out of digital channels and be engaged with someone, a human being, ideally on the phone or a Zoom meeting or in person. So let's talk a minute about the user persona whose attention you're trying to capture, who's on LinkedIn looking for someone like you. This is most likely a recruiter. This is where they come into play. They're going to find you. You don't have to worry about meeting every recruiter in North America. They're headhunters. They're going to find you if your LinkedIn profile is optimized properly. Okay? You focus on employers, recruiters will find you. Recruiters, internal or external, and sometimes it might be even a leader of a baby company, early stage company who's looking for they're doing their searches on the back end of LinkedIn. They're building projects of who they're going to reach out to. Okay. And often that amount of research, guess when that happens? Guess when that happens, my friend? After hours. early morning, late in the evening, on the couch, kids are around, dinner, snack time, bottle of wine, Friday night, whenever, because during the day they're doing business. During the day, they're in meetings with you and your competition for the job. They're in meetings to understand who are the clients retaining us for whom I'm now going to start recruiting for. They're in CEOs, they're running their company. So the main business happens during the day. People are looking and building projects and determining, okay, if I have time to meet 4 people on Monday, who are the 4 people I want to book meetings with? That's what I'm thinking when I'm looking at a persona on LinkedIn, when I'm looking at your profile. I've got time to meet 4 people. Who's it going to be? So your content, therefore, on LinkedIn needs to be as strong as what is on your resume. Bullet points, no paragraphs, content about outcomes and accomplishments, talking in the function of product management and getting to the point, because someone is scanning lots of profiles to pick out, is this person relevant to my search? If yes, boom, I'm reaching out to you. And therefore that contact information needs to be on your back end, relevant and real-time and accurate. Yesterday, I sent someone, this person connected with me. I went into their contact information on LinkedIn. They had a Hotmail account. I'm thinking, I'm not sure about this, but I emailed them, and guess what? Then I also sent a DM over LinkedIn. Hey, FYI, check this email account because I just emailed you there. They emailed me back from a Gmail saying, yeah, that email account, my Hotmail, that's dead. Email me through Gmail. Why is your Gmail not enabled in LinkedIn? I mean, if you're in a job search, let's go. Email address accuracy is pretty basic. Next, you as the Chief Product Officer and the Vice President of Product, you want to be very mindful of removing the roadblocks to getting engagement as quickly as possible. And that means try to move into business email as quickly as possible. Business email engagement is where executives live. LinkedIn for most executives is like this really crazy, noisy place where inboxes get really pushed down. Like you're getting pushed down every day. Every connection and every chat thread in that LinkedIn is pushing your critical email down, down, down. But business email is where business happens, especially for a CEO. And especially, I mean, even in my business, I'm in business email. So and you can help make that happen by getting that email address. We talked about that earlier, and trying to move things to email as quickly as possible. Serve up a frictionless experience, dear CPO. You're in a job search. We don't need to pretend that and be really soft about that. Here's my resume. Here's my LinkedIn profile. Here's my phone number if you want to hop on a call. And by the way, I use Calendly. Here's my link. I'd love to book that call with you because you're curious to learn more about me since you DM'd me. So all of these things, we want to start to move towards meaningful engagement as quickly as possible. Okay, that is critical. The role of a resume. So if LinkedIn is that tool that's going to create top of funnel engagement. Hey, I'm curious about you. It looks like what you're doing and is interesting to what I'm trying to find someone to do. And while you're open to opportunities, let's jump on a call. Let's have that discussion by phone, by Zoom, in a meeting. Now let's talk about the resume. Okay. Now, it's critical that your resume begins to separate you from average Annie. We talked about her before because the stakes are higher for you. You're a CPO vice president of product. So there's an expectation that everything you do is just going to be that much more beautiful and frictionless. And you're serving things up that are relevant to the user persona, and that you're guiding me through a journey of booking a meeting with you. That's the expectation of you. Okay, there's an expectation that you're going to bring clarity. You're not going to have a lot of filler stuff. You're going to just guide me through that unlocking. This is the person for us. I think I found the person who's going to get the job, take the job, who is the person for the job. All right. So we want to be thinking about that user persona who's engaging with your resume. And guess what they care about? The 3 things they care about. They care about, where did you work? Like name of company. What is the product and the business that you were actually hired to solve for? What is it? And 3, most importantly, what did you do while you were there? How did you deliver value. We've talked about value already. How did you deliver value? That's what we want to know, and we want that served up as quickly as possible. If that is below the fold of a resume, then I've got to start scrolling down, getting through all the filler stuff that tells me about your passions and all of your random skills sections that apply to someone who just took a course somewhere in that skill. If I got to sift through all of that to get to the nugget of where you worked, what was the business, and what did you do there, your resume needs a reimagining. Your resume needs to be filled with outcomes, communicating scope and scale. Are there numbers on your resume? Because there needs to be. And we need to be writing in the language of our function. Does your resume sound like the resume of a product manager, or might it sound like the resume of a sales VP or a customer success officer or an engineering leader? Are you talking product to me? Because that's what I'm looking for. And in a world where everybody wants product leaders who embody product and craft, you need to look and sound like one, my friend, because that's what your next generation coming up behind you that may not be as experienced as you are, but they've got all the hustle and the grit. That's what they sound like. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to trump you in the role, but you know what I'm saying. There is a time to modernize that resume that you wrote after you graduated from university 15 years ago, and that time is now. You're going to curate, and recency bias is everything. We care about maybe your last 2 roles. You're as good as your last job. Before I recruited product leaders, I recruited salespeople. And you know what? It was all about the last quarter. How good was your last quarter? Did you make your number? Didn't? Uh-oh. Better do it this quarter because you're as good as your last couple. Same with product. You're as good as your last job. Is the reason you were a business analyst or a software engineer in 2006 relevant to why someone's going to want to interview you today? No, it's not. That is part of who you are, and it's created all the goodness that you are, and you can look at things from many different lenses, but who you are today is probably what you've solved for most recently. Here's an example of a very basic resume template. Thank you, Pauline, and our marketing team for creating this. I love it. Shoot me an email. I'll send you a copy if you're not doing a screenshot right now. We're not talking about 1/3, 2/3 templates that put all of your skills at the top. We are just taking one page, and it's a beautiful, frictionless experience. However, I'm showing this to you on one page, but if you actually have a career with many employers, you're going to have a 2-page resume. 2 pages is solid. 3 pages, too long. Okay? So we're curating that experience, and I'm happy to talk to you about resumes in another session, because I want to talk about the common resume blunders. And I know that we're running out of time, and I want to take your questions, so I'm going to rush through this now. Number 1 resume blunder is people write job descriptions, not a resume. Second blunder, you're talking not like a leader. You're not talking about the value that you deliver. You don't reference scope or scale. There's no numbers, there's no outcomes. And you talk about things not in its use case. Maybe your resume is confusing. You're talking about everything, and that clutters up what we actually care about. Maybe you're template heavy. Is what I see when I see it all of the lines and the shading and the colors and the graphical elements? Or are we just dialing it into your outcomes? Because really, that's going to be the reason why you're hired, not for some graphic design skills. Or it's sloppy. You got too many fonts, lines incorrect. You got 4 different fonts and 5 different ways of spacing your content. Or you're writing in an inappropriate writing style. Heidi is often concerned when Heidi sees a resume that's written in the 3rd person. Heidi doesn't really like that because it sounds more Shakespearean than Heidi wishes it were. Or super overly casual, where you're talking about all the things that you did last night and your family and everything except for what you actually deliver as a product person. All right. But here are some perspectives for you. Big picture again. Your resume is not going to be what gets you the job. You are. Engagement between a person. Engagement is everything, because people hire people, and guess what? They hire who they like and who they feel. Who they feel will deliver value. That's why human engagement with hiring stakeholders and CEOs is so incredibly important. And this role, your role, who you are, it's a big deal to the CEO. And that's why it's critical to prepare and to smile and make eye contact with everyone you meet. Because again, it's about engagement. Do you align? Do they like you? Did you leave them feeling good? And recency bias. I can't emphasize that enough, because so many times if I ask someone, hey, tell me what you're solving for over there, people will say, actually, let me tell you my journey. I first graduated in, whoa, no, What are you solving for? It looks like you still work there. Tell me what you're working on. Why were you hired? What have you built so far in these last 3-4 years? That's where we always want the narrative to start. Recently, most recently, I was. Currently, I am. We never want to begin our conversations in our talk track. Well, I graduated from so-and-so. All right. More perspectives. This is a bit of an interview perspective. Always have another question to ask your interviewer until they stop the meeting. Your job as a product leader is to be so insatiably curious, more curious than anyone else in that interview, even if you know that you've run out of time like I'm doing right now. You're always going to say, you know what, I could ask questions all day. So yes, my next question is, and they'll tell you when to stop. Listen to the question that they're asking you and answer it, and then check in to see if they need more. Hey, I'm happy to answer that question, and I'm going to, but if you want me to provide more insights, I'm happy to do that. At the end of every step in an interview, double check in, get clarity. Hey, did that answer the question? Because there's actually more I could communicate about that regarding the way that integrated with the marketing and the go-to-market organization. Don't over-explain like I'm doing right now, because you're better than I am, because you're a chief product officer building technology companies. End every meeting with, I remain interested. Who's the next step in the process? Who shall I expect to meet with next? Because I'm interested in this opportunity. Companies want to hire people and advance people who are interested. If they're wondering, you know what, I don't think they were that interested. They didn't ask any questions and they were looking down all the time. And you know what? They didn't say they were interested. They didn't, I don't know. People want engagement. Be transparent. Draw your community working with you, recruiters, into your decision-making process, and know when it is time to sunset. If you're not interested and you know that you're never going to take that job, it's time to end it. Let someone else invest time who really wants the job, and you focus on the things that you really want to do. And my friend, a job search process is not personal. It is rarely one and done. You're one of several people they're interviewing and meeting with, and that's normal. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. You keep doing what you're doing, filling that funnel, and that's how that's going to go. Okay. I'm ready for questions. Now, I don't know, because I've never done this kind of a event before. Where do these questions actually go?
We got a question from LinkedIn, and it's from Cynthia. She asked, is an objective section required on a resume?
An objective section. Is an objective section required on a resume? You know what? An objective section is often better than a summary statement at the top, because oftentimes people get caught up in writing summaries of the summary. So an objective that's one line can often be impactful. Seeking the opportunity to join a first-time founder and build a world-class product experience at scale. Seeking the opportunity to deliver a beautiful experience to a native mobile app around lifestyle brands. An objective can be one sentence, which really creates the opportunity to add more content to what matters, which is the career section of your resume. That's what really is the resume, where you worked last and what you achieved there. Great question, Cynthia. Any other questions? I know that we are running close and getting over time. Someone's asking, oh, I see, here we go. Hi from Montreal. Hi, Lucy. Hi from Ohio. How awesome. Is this being recorded? Yes, this is being recorded. And we're going to post this somewhere on probably my LinkedIn profile, and possibly on our company website as well. Okay, people have joined in, and I don't see any other questions here. And I know that yes,
we got one more question.
Okay.
It's from Shri. Are most
Yes.
VP or CPO jobs unlisted?
Many are. Many are. So here's the perspective on that. So there, like we mentioned, there's a period of time when a leader makes a decision to make the hire. We're going to hire our next VP product, or the first one. And then there's all of the things that have to happen once that decision was made in the morning, after a meeting, through a discussion, through a realization, or when the VC says, guess what you're going to do? You're going to hire a VP product. That's right, because you're the CEO founder and we need you to run the business. So there's that moment, okay? And then there's all the things that need to happen. They're probably going to consult with their executive leadership team. Okay. They are going to talk, if they have a human resources organization, maybe a talent acquisition leader, they're going to consult with those stakeholders. And then they're going to think about what is the persona of leader we want to hire. And then how are we going to go to market to get this person on board? One flow is they're going to engage a search like a search firm like ours. If they don't have any recruiters who they know, then they're going to have to embark on that search to find someone. Or they might do it internally. So all of that no man's time, that gray, mushy area is the hidden job market because they've made the decision to hire the person. All right. Then there's recruiters. So interesting story. So right now we are engaged in product leadership searches. I don't want them posted on LinkedIn. And here's why. Because of what's happening in the market, the onslaught of people applying for the role is really overwhelming. I had to take down my last role because we don't have the cycles and the time to go through every candidate because so many are completely irrelevant for the reasons that I talked about earlier. And what we do, our whole practice is working like a sniper, targeting the persona of leader who our client wants to hire. We're going outbound into the market for specific people, doing specific things and engaging with specific individuals. That's how we do what we do. And you know, LinkedIn posts or job posts for us have always really been more of a marketing thing. Hey, it just puts us out there as a brand. But last year in 2022, we placed one CPO from a posting that we had on LinkedIn. Everyone else was what we do, headhunting, the right person for the right role. Great question. Thank you for asking that. Who else has a question? Anything else? I think we've got time for one or two more. Yes.
We have one question from Travis. So
Awesome.
He said, for someone who quotation took a job I had to, but quotation, how do you overcome recency bias?
Yes. You know what, Travis, I'd love to talk to you about that. Yeah. That's Travis, email me and let's talk about it. Okay.
We have another question. It's from Lucy. She's saying, most of my experience is in B2C. Is there hope for me to get a job in B2B?
Yes. And I love that question, Lucy. And here's why. So one of the interesting things that's happened along the way in how products are, how we all use products as humans is that in a B2B context, in a B2B setting, every enterprise wants a beautiful experience that's very frictionless and seamless, that is an experience like their beloved consumer apps that they're already used to using. In fact, we've even seen that with some companies we've done work with in really traditional industries like manufacturing, shop floor, because of course, those products are solving for a non-technical user. You know, a person who's an employee of a traditional industry. So there is an opportunity, yes, but like all things, it's finding the leader who connects with you and where your narrative is applying the curiosity to ask the questions about what they're solving for and then aligning your experiences to that. But yes, I've seen it many times. I've seen many product leaders go from B2B to B2C, B2C to B2B, from really technical products to business applications. This actually happens in the largest context of product leaders. It really does. And if you need some encouragement or want to talk about it, again, email me and I'm happy to try to talk that through with you one-on-one.
Another question from Todd. He's asking, any advice on how we can move to business email?
Okay, yes. So let's talk about a CEO first. Okay. So if you're engaging with a CEO and let's say you send them a LinkedIn connection request and they accept, 50-50 chance the email address they have in their LinkedIn is their business email. 50-50 chance. My email address in my LinkedIn is business email because I'm doing business in LinkedIn. Okay. Most CEOs aren't on there looking for a job, although there are exceptions, of course, but you know what I mean. Next, there's a lot of products like Lucia, Crunchbase, Rocket Mail, I think Rocket Reach, there's a whole bunch of tools out there that will allow you to get so many queries of email addresses of a company. Apollo is another one. So if you don't want to pay for the service, you can get so many a month and they unlock them. But here's the interesting thing. Because of course, as a business, this is what we do. So all you need is one email address for a company and you've pretty much got everyone. It's either first name dot last name at, first initial last name at. So if on a press release that a company makes, the marketing, the VP of PR, their work email address is for further questions, please contact Monica at this email address. Guess what? You just got everybody's email address because it's that same format, most likely. Crunchbase will almost always give you the executives' emails, in their product. All right.
Okay. We
Or
got another.
Or call the office if there's a phone number. Call the office and ask for it.
Got it. Another question from Felipe. What are the 3 most important things a CEO should remember from their first meeting with their future CPO?
Okay, so Pauline, say it again. What are the 3 things that a CEO should remember
from their first meeting with their future CPO?
So I'm assuming that the question is from interviewing the person. I think that's what we're talking about, right? So first of all, that's a big question. So everyone remembers how you made them feel in that engagement. A CEO wants alignment, that you are the solution to the problem, that you were interested enough in their business, that you asked smart questions, that you took the time. Our clients will often cite and make reference to, they really seem to understand our business. They really took the time to ask some great questions to understand where we're at in the marketplace and what we're trying to do. They will be impressed by the amount of prep, detail, question, curiosity that you apply to the meeting with that CEO. That's the first thing, and that's also going to help them feel that you're someone who they want to introduce to more people. The other thing that a CEO will appreciate and remember is when you are able to connect the dots to experiences that you have had to what they are seeking, because they're always trying to figure out what is the shortest path to ROI. I mean, we need ROI, we need an outcome. How is it what you have done is relevant to our business? And there's different ways to approach that, because sometimes it's from industry experiences, but many times it's not, because again, product leaders change sectors all the time. One of the things that we're hearing a lot about recently, and as I'm sure you are, is this whole idea of product-led growth. So if you have a journey and you have all of the learnings and things that you regret doing, but now if you have a talk track around that and that leader is looking to apply some real motion around product-led growth, being able to speak to that they will appreciate that, and that will resonate with them. Okay. I think everything always boils down to engagement. What is fascinating in the search business that I have learned in the almost 25 years that I've been doing this is that you could have 2 candidates going into the final step. Let's say it's the final step. It's a bake-off. One candidate ticks all the boxes. It's the perfect hire. Oh my gosh, they're perfect. Then there's the person who doesn't tick all the boxes, but you know what? For a lot of reasons, it's a bake-off and they're in it. And it's a showdown. Guess who gets the job? The person, the CEO, that the board, that the team liked. We liked that. I don't know what it was about that person, but we really liked them. I don't know. You know what? We really feel good about it. Yeah, we really feel good. We liked them. Something about that person really connected with us. We think they're a great fit for who we are and where we're trying to get to. So isn't that fascinating? So that's why in such a digital world where everything is so digital, we need to move to human engagement. I was like a bird on a wall in a meeting a couple of weeks ago where someone was sharing how they're evaluating, candidates, and it was like a 1 out of 5, 1 to 5. Well, okay, I understand what's a 1 and what's a 5, but what's the difference between 3 and 4? What's the difference between 2 and 3? It's not about numbering. It's not about tick box. It's about human engagement at these senior levels. Okay. VP CPO, it's about engagement and senior levels. Yes. Next question. Pauline, anyone else?
Yes. From Varun, I want to move from being a CPO at B2B to B2C. How should I go about it?
Say that again. I want to be a CPO. I am a CPO of a
B2B, and then he wants to move to B2C.
Well, here's my first question. See, here's what's interesting. If you think you're a curious group, imagine how curious I am. B2B could mean a lot of different things. B2B could be Intuit. Okay. Or B2B could be Juniper Networks. B2B could be any number of things. So what kind of a B2B are you, and where are the connectors to B2C? And depending on how B2B you are and how B2B2C you want to get, it could be hard, impossible, easy, but guess what? You're going to have to work hard to get there. So why don't you email me and tell me more about what that B2B is that you've solved for and the kind of B2C you want to work on, and let me see if I can help you figure it out. I'm happy to try.
Sounds good. And we have our last question, I think. Okay. It's from Rob. I'm in fintech, paytech. Can I cross over to another industry?
So, like I've already said, there's no easy answer. I could say, sure, yes, because so many of your peer group have crossed over into other sectors. Okay, sure. But in today's market, it's really hard to start to reinvent yourself, because in today's world, what are CEOs looking for? Outcomes. They need sure things. They need the obvious hire. They want a return on their investment, and they want you to get ramped up fast. So depending on what the other industry is, depending on many things and the confidence that you give that CEO that you're someone who can reinvent themselves, all right, that's going to help or hurt your attempt to do that. Now, one of the beautiful things about fintech payments is that those product experiences apply to so many product categories and industries. So finding the one that is most applicable to you or where you can deliver value, that's a big part of your job search process. This is why finding a job is a full-time job. So yes, you can do it. It isn't going to be easy. Is this the time in the market to do it? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you have to take another payment fintech job today, but then when you're working and you get recruited by a recruiter for something totally different, you're going to say, yeah, I want to talk to you because, you know, I'm open to opportunities where I can do something I've never done before. And that's going to be okay. You're not locked into something forever. You're going to make great decisions for you as those opportunities surface themselves, as they always do, because you are a sought after product leader. Let's exchange jobs, Varun says. Aha, yes. To Lucy, that's awesome.
We got two more questions that came in, actually.
Okay, I'm going to go for it. Let's keep going.
So from Christopher, how would your advice change for mid-level product leaders?
How would my advice change for mid-level? Well, words are funny things. What's mid-level? So is that a director of product where there's ICs below you and VPs above you and then a CPO level above you? I think. So how would my advice change? Well, my advice stays true in that your role is to deliver value into an organization. And your role is to be insatiably curious and deliver value in every way that you can, and to curate and be very intentional about your career path. Now, if your role is middle management, so let's say you're a director of product and you want to be a VP or a CPO one day, the greatest likelihood of you getting to that next level is through the current employer you work for in some way. So if you work for a large business, that's why maybe you work for a large company because you're calling yourself middle management. That's like a big company term. So let's pretend you work at Oracle, okay? Where there's lots of levels. There's directors, there's senior directors, and there's many vice presidents, many. All right? The greatest likelihood of getting promoted in a company like that is through Oracle, through the company you work for, because if they won't promote you, why would anybody else? So you want to do great work, seek a stakeholder, seek a champion internally, and ask the tough question, hey, my goal is to have your job one day. Could you speak to me with truth? Am I someone who has the skills and the abilities to be considered for a role like yours one day? And if not, I want you to tell me honestly and help me. Would you help me become more effective and better in what I do, that you could champion my name to HR or your boss the next time our company is hiring that next level? Would you help me on this journey? Because I really respect you, and I think you could help me with my career, and I want to help you look good so that you can say, hey, one of my directors got promoted to VP, because that's actually good stuff for your resume. Okay. And you might have to remind that person about that. All right. Now, so that's the obvious track, but maybe you're a middle manager, maybe you're a director of product where there aren't a lot of VPs. So you're never going to be a VP there. Okay. But maybe there are experiences that you haven't had the opportunity to have yet in your company, that if you had those opportunities, it would round you out. So for example, maybe if there's an opportunity to lead public speaking, product, presentations, demos, product, market facing situations, maybe you could get tapped to do that. And that ticks off something that you've never had the experience of doing. Maybe you've never contributed to a product roadmap. Maybe, you've got to ask yourself, what is it that the next level does that I don't do? And how can I get some experiences to do those things that will help me learn it so that I am ready when someone says, hey, we're hiring for a VP. Might you be the one for us? Do you have any, I'm seeing a question here from Nolan. Do you have any techniques or tools to help people position their accomplishments or experiences so they align with a prospective role? Nolan, we covered some of that in the session today. Why don't you send me a quick email and let's talk about it, and I'll make sure I answer your question, because you guys are asking some really great questions, and there's still 47 people. So here isn't this a small thing? I was wondering if anybody would join today. So thank you for being here, everyone. All 47 of you, 46 of you, 45 of you. I see we're coming to an end of this time. It is now 1:15, and you've got to go back out there and crush it. Okay, so get out there and work on your job searches, because this is a full-time job to get a job. And if you're working in product as a leader, get out there and do what you do for a living. And hopefully when you're ready to hire, you're going to remember Heidi Ram at Martin Bassett Associates and drop us a note and discover how we might be able to help you make that strategic hire for your product UX or product marketing team, because we're here for that. I appreciate you. Thank you for your time today, and we're going to call it a wrap. Have a great day, everyone.